本命は元締めの祭りやフェスタ。海王類の海難事故で死んだはずのロジャー時代の大物海賊。
おまけにこいつもだ。
What's up, everybody? We got some Smoker versus Red Green Oden gameplay. This is from another one of my runs at my locals here. Man, I just absolutely love this deck. This deck is just so much fun to play, and we're going to be taking second here, coming into the perfect turn one play of Brand New. Brand New's going to look at the top 5. We only got one searchable. Brand New cannot find himself, can't find the Brook either, but we get a nice little 2k. And in this specific matchup against Oden, Oden is often going to be swinging 6 to 7k each turn, so kind of having 2ks early in the game is going to be pretty nice as my opponent leads into a Nami. Nami's going to be pretty great once my opponent starts to resolve some 5-crossed Land of Wano cards, as Nami does allow them to attach 1 Rested Dawn for free once per turn. Opponent's just going to go ahead and swing 7 at lead. I'm going to take that first one. First one's always free, in my opinion. Going to grab another 2k off the top and a Brand New off of life here. We have a few options. We could play out the Rebecca, grab the Brook, play out the Brand New, or just play out the Brook. But instead here, first we're going to go for the Momonosuke. Momonosuke, a great searcher for the Oden deck. It's pretty much going to find a target every single time, and if I don't take care of it now, that Momo's just going to keep getting lots of value. We're going to send 5k at lead. Opponent's just going to use his leader ability to use an uncounterable card as a 1k counter. I'm going to play out Rebecca. Rebecca's going to grab Brook. Brook's going to come out into play, and I did pop the Rebecca. I popped the Nami here. My opponent will move it to the trash in just a second. I pointed at it, but I think he misunderstood what I was doing, but I'll correct it in just a second. There we go. Nami's gone. So that was a pretty solid play, being able to take out both his enabler as well as the search engine without maximizing on the amount of things I could do in that turn. Also setting up a Brook here. Brook is protected behind the Rebecca, so if my opponent does want to swing into it, they do play out the Izo, and they're going to go ahead and swing. I think this is 8k here, as it's one attached and then another attached off of Izo's ability. Izo is a new card from Memorial Booster, EB01 I think is what it's called. Izo is one of the best cards in the Red Green Oden deck, so if Izo's on the board, you want to kill that as quickly as possible, and we have the perfect answer for it coming up here on our 6th Dawn turn, and that is Tashigi. Tashigi, honestly, one of the best reasons to play Smoker right now, because Tashigi only works with Smoker, right? Without playing the Smoker leader, Tashigi does not get her on play, and that on play minuses 4 cost to a character, and then I can activate main her, and if my opponent controls a character with 0 cost, she can trash it. So we're going to play Shiki out -4 on the Izo. We're going to use Smoker's ability by attaching it on to minus another 1, which will then give a Smoker plus 1k for the turn. So I'm going to be a 7k lead going to my opponent here. 7k going into my opponent. My opponent is a 6k lead right now because of Oden's ability. And then, Tashigi cleans up the Izo. That is the cleanest way to get rid of Izo. Izo, if you don't know what Izo does, Izo has a secondary ability. So first off, dropped my hand into play there. That might happen a few times here. I don't think my opponent was paying attention, but getting used to using the card holder again. And if you look at the placement, it's literally right in front of my trash bin. And I'm playing a black deck, so I want to see what's in my trash bin pretty often. So we'll see how I can navigate around that here. But as I was saying, Izo, one of the best cards in the Red Green Oden deck, just because Izo can turn any card in your hand into a 2k, so on your opponent's attack, you can discard a card from your hand and give a character or leader minus 2,000 power for the turn. Speaking of really strong 5-cost cards, that is a Yamato. So my opponent did play the Yamato out, attached to Dawn to swing 8k to lead. He is a 6k leader currently at this point in time. We're going to go ahead and start with a Brand New. We have our play line pretty easily mapped up here. I decided to take the Borsalino over a 2k, as I already got enough 2ks in hand at this point, and having a block here later in the game might be pretty useful. We're going to go ahead and tap 5 and play out Tashigi. Tashigi being a great target here. Again, -4, and then I can attach 1 to lead and set it to 0, and then trash it with Tashigi. The perfect answer to Oden's 5 costs here. Having that second Tashigi was pretty insane to get rid of that Yamato. Yamato is a big threat. Yamato has double attack and banish, so I'd expect, especially with me not having any blockers in play at this point in time, that is a lot of damage to go to face, and if I take that, it's going straight to the trash. I'm going to send 6k at lead here. We're going to send a 7k at lead See if my opponent takes it. Opponent's going to show me a 2k, and then we're just going to pass back to my opponent. My opponent has no threats on board, a few cards in hand, 3 life, and I'm feeling pretty great right now. I'm doing what Smoker does best. I also have 2 Sengokus in hand to potentially refill if I need to look for some more answers here if my opponent does play something threatening. Speaking of something threatening, that is an Ezo. Luckily, I do have an Ice Age in hand, so I can use that Ice Age to quickly clear that Ezo with like a Brook swing, which is pretty great here. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing another 8k here, as Ezo does allow them to attach an Oden. We're going to send 8k lead. I'm going to give him 2 2ks, counter out of that, and then he's going to play out a blocker. This is a 3-cost 4,000 power blocker. I am pretty well set up this turn to be able to take off the Ezo pretty easily. I'm just going to ignore that blocker for the most part here as we pull up another 2k. We're in 2k heaven right now, and yeah, this is going pretty well for me. Speaking of things that are going well, I did open some booster boxes of the best here. I'll drop a link to the video in the description below, but we're also running a giveaway as a part of it. We're going to be giving away some pretty awesome Jolly Roger cards, some secret rares, and some super rares to get you started off on your card collecting career here. So if you want to check out a cool unboxing content and join in on the giveaway, definitely check out that video there. And yeah, we're trying to think of what we're going to do here. We're on a 10 Don turn. We could play out a Borsalino. Instead, we could just kind of pressure board here. So I'm just going to go preemptively attach 2 to Brook because I know I'm going to go 6k. We're going to go ahead and Ice Age the Ezo, attach another one to lead. We're going to go ahead and get that free value. So I'm just going to -1 on the other guy. Smoker doesn't care what character I'm targeting as long as my opponent has a 0-cost character. We're going to attack with Brook. Brook's going to -1 on the blocker and then KO Ezo before Ezo's effect happens. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand at this point. 6k is going to connect to lead here as my opponent doesn't want to go down to 1 card in hand. I still have quite a bit of Don left open. I can also just play out a blocker if I'm feeling like I need to. We're going to go ahead and send a 7k into lead, requiring at least a 2k counter out of my opponent's hand. It's going to show me a 2k Atama. Got another 7k coming off of Tashigi here, and then we'll have an additional 7k off of the Smoker leader. So since 7k, again, opponent's going to block that second one. This third one here is going to connect. And we got 4 Don left. Might as well use that 4 Don to play out a Borsalino to ensure that we are just absolutely safe against any of my opponent's trickery. I've played against this deck a few times. My opponent does run some rush cards, which could catch me if I was at a lower life total. But if you look at my hand is pretty stacked. Got at least 8k. And we're feeling pretty solid at this point against my opponent. My opponent's going to play out a a Jet Gun, I think it's what it's called, to KO a 6,000 power or less. I am, if you notice kind of the way I'm attacking, is I am kind of trying to play around that card in life, as I know that's a potential play that my opponent has available to him as a trigger, because that trigger also does the same thing as playing it on your turn. So you just have to kind of be conscious of your opponent's triggers as you're playing the game and as you're attacking to make sure that you don't get blown out. And so I definitely needed to attack with Brook first to ensure that I could kill the Ezo, because if my opponent hit some kind of crazy trigger, could have taken the Brook out and the Ezo would have still stayed around. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing 6k into the Brook here. I do have a Borsalino on my opponent's turn. Borsalino does get plus 1,000 power, allowing him to be a 6k blocker. We're just going to go ahead and block, give him a 1k. Very free for me to do at this point. And my opponent's going to play out a Kid and Killer. Speaking of rush things, he had a Kid and Killer. I'm going to show my opponent that I've got a 2k and that I've got a 2k here, as I'm not at 2 or less life, as that Kid and Killer is just a 5k rush. If you like this type of content, definitely join the crew. Subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you on our crew here, as we are doing these kind of gameplay commentaries pretty often throughout the week. I try to upload a few videos every week as we kind of touch on different decks. Right now we're on the high of Smoker, but I've got some fun gameplay for you guys coming out soon of some Zoro as well. So if you like this type of stuff, like as I walk through my thoughts and all that, then definitely let me know. And we're actually coming to the end here likely, as my opponent only has 1 card in hand, showed me a Radical Beam off of a 9k swing. And now we're just going to go ahead and attach 4. We're just going to go a solid 10. My opponent had another Radical Beam, but not enough to counter out of that. Radical Beam is something that you sometimes have to be thoughtful of when you're playing against red decks, but in this specific instance, it didn't matter. If you like this type of gameplay, definitely give a like, definitely subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.